Hey, what's up? If you don't know me or you're new to the channel, my name is Josh. Today I am repping the Mighty Ducks. This is a Charlie Conway jersey. You see it's got the C. Remember I made a big deal about him having the C in the third movie, I think it was, that he... Charlie Conway, Mighty Ducks, greatest trilogy ever made, shot right here in Minnesota. Greatest trilogy ever made. No disrespect to Star Wars, any of their trilogies, or Toy Story, or Captain America, or the Avengers, if you want to call that. I don't know if that's really a trilogy. Technically there was 4 movies. They got another one coming out. No disrespect to any of those. Dark Knight trilogy, any of those good movies. Great. They're fantastic, but the best one ever made is definitely the Mighty Ducks trilogy. If you don't believe me, go back and watch it. I promise you, it's fantastic. But today, I'm not talking about the Mighty Ducks. I'm continuing to talk about Joshua, and this is a battle found in Joshua 9 and 10, and this is the story of the sun standing still. So maybe you've heard this story before, maybe you have heard it referenced in kids' church or something and you know about it. This is one that I don't know when I first really read it for myself. I do remember hearing about it in kids' church, but never really put the whole story together, read it for myself until more recently within the last few years or so. But Joshua 9 and 10 is where this story takes place. And before we get to the battle where the sun stands still, I want to start in chapter 9, verse 3 through 6. When the inhabitants of Gibeon heard that what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they worked craftily, and went and prepared to be ambassadors. And they took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins torn and mended, old patches, sandals on their feet, old garments on themselves, and all the bread of their provisions was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua to the camp in Gilgal and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We have come from a faraway country. Now, therefore, make a covenant with us." So they try to trick them to make a covenant. This is a people that was close to Joshua and the Israelites, but they were afraid of being conquered by them. So they're like, oh, we're going to try to trick them. We're going to say we're from a faraway land and way over here, so it doesn't really affect you, but we want to make a covenant with you, right? Because we've heard of how great and powerful you guys are, how good your army is, all that stuff. And they, brought in moldy bread and old wineskins and old clothes to act like they had been traveling really long ways, but they haven't. Let's see what Joshua and the men of Israel do with these people in chapter 9, 14 through 15. Then the men of Israel took some of their provisions, and they did not ask counsel of the Lord. So Joshua made peace with them and made a covenant with them to let them live, and the rulers of their congregation swore to them. So they took their provisions. They said, okay, and this is, it's not a side note. It's not a throwaway sentence when it says they did not ask counsel of the Lord. They just feel bad for these people, maybe, I don't know. So they took them in and they said, hey, we'll take care of you. We'll help you. We'll make covenant with you. We'll support you. But they didn't actually ask God what to do in this situation. And so a lot of us think like we know, oh yeah, this would be the right thing to do. I talked about this in my last video, but sometimes we don't know what is the right thing to do in this specific situation. And that's why, because they didn't know that they were being deceived. And now I don't think you can go into and assume. I've talked to people who, I know a lot of people who think, or people that have said, yeah, everybody's out to get me. Everybody's trying to trick me. They don't give money to any homeless people on the side of the road because they think they're all, corrupt and running a scam, or they're going to just buy, alcohol or drugs with it. I know some people that they'll help everyone because they're like, I don't care what they're going to do with it, or they're just people that are really trusting. I probably follow more on that line where I'm like, I'm more trusting of people and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even if they continue to take advantage of me. Okay, this reminds me of a quick story. You can, skip ahead a little bit if you want to, or 2 times speed this, which you might already be doing. But Michael Jr. is a Christian comedian, and he came to our church once when we were in California, and he did his bit, and then he talked about book sales, and he said, if you don't think you can, he's like, I want you to go to the back table and I want you to pray about how much you should pay for a book. If God tells you to just take one and not pay for one, because you do it. But if God tells you to pay more than what you, 10, 15 bucks, whatever it was for the book, pay that. And he said, I want you to practice hearing God's voice, because a lot of times we are just so quick to, I think he used the example of like the drive-through difference. And I don't think you're ever going to go wrong if it's, paying for the person behind you in the drive-through. I think God will always bless you for that. But he's like, sometimes God might tell you no. whether it's because you need the money to feed your family. Maybe you didn't know that the person behind you is, buying 50, Big Macs for whatever. And now you got, I don't know. I'm not saying, again, I don't think you'll ever go wrong helping people, but seek God in every situation, even when you think you know what the right thing is to do. But they did not seek the counsel. They took their provisions. They took the people in. They made covenant with the people. Now I'm going to jump to chapter 10, verse 6 through 8. And these kings around are coming up against the people of Gibeon, right? Gibeon, is that what they were? Yeah, the inhabitants of Gibeon. The people, they're now, all of these kings are trying to declare war, trying to start a war with Gibeon. So what they do is the men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, "Do not forsake your servants. Come up to us quickly, save us and help us. All of the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the mountains have gathered together against us." So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hand. Not a man of them shall stand before you." So these people who made this deceptive covenant with Joshua, they find out before this, and then they come and they say, "Hey, we made a covenant. I don't care whatever circumstances we were under, we made a covenant." And Joshua said, "Okay, I will honor that." Joshua was an honorable person, and he honored the covenant that he made with his people, even though he made it under false circumstances. And God honored Joshua for honoring his covenant, even though he didn't seek God in that. If I was God, I'd be like, "You didn't ask me. If you'd asked me, I would have told you no, and you wouldn't be in this situation." But luckily, God is not as petty as me, and God says, "I will be with you. I will deliver because you honored the covenant that you made with them, and you honored your commitment. I will honor you and take care of you." So this is the battle that we see, one of the greatest miracles ever recorded in human history. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when God delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel. So they're in this long battle, and he wants to make sure that they get it done before it gets dark, right? They didn't have flashlights and things back then. He said in the sight of Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon, I don't know." So the sun stood still, the moon stopped till the people had revenge upon their enemies. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of the heaven and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. And there have been no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord heeded the voice of man, for the Lord fought for Israel. This is, like I said, honestly, one of the greatest miracles ever recorded in the history of human history. Like, crazy, the sun stood still. And now I've seen things that say that they can go back and look at things scientifically and see that there was some aberration. And I don't know, I'm not smart enough to understand all of that. And I think if there were facts and evidence of this, most people probably wouldn't listen to it anyways, or wouldn't let it get out because they don't want to prove the Bible right. But the Bible's never been proven wrong historically or scientifically. That's a different subject for a different time. God did this huge miracle, stopped the sun in the sky, although probably more accurately stopped the earth from spinning. I don't know exactly how he did it, if that's how that works or whatever. But this huge miracle God did to help Joshua fulfill a commitment that he shouldn't have made because he didn't ask God for it. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Well, first of all, seek God in every situation. Joshua wouldn't have been in this mess if he had sought God, right? But then also, honor your commitments. Honor the things, the relationships, the people that are in your life. And I'm going to say, I'm not talking about an abusive relationship. You don't need to stay in that. Get yourself out of that. I'm not talking about a toxic workplace where your boss is terrible and you're underpaid and abused, or I'm not saying any of that. But I would err on again, if you're in that situation, good or bad or whatever, seek God. I would err on the side of commitment though, and err on the side of honoring the commitments that you made, because you see here that when you do that, even if they're not with the right people, God will honor the commitment that you made, right? Like the example that I'll use is I was talking with a friend who wasn't super happy about their job or about their boss, the way things were going. And in our conversation, we ended up at the point, like, at the end of the day, you're not working for your boss, you're working for God, and God sees that. That's why the Bible says to work unto God, not unto man, because God sees that and your reward comes from him. So even if your boss doesn't see the work you put in, even if your boss doesn't appreciate you as much as they should, even if, you know, things aren't going well, even if you end up getting laid off or the company goes under, you were never working for that company, for that boss, you're working for God, and God's not going to let you fall. God's not going to let you fail. God didn't let Joshua get destroyed because he entered a war that he shouldn't have because he made a covenant with someone before asking God. God doesn't leave him in that still because he honored the commitment, so God honored him. And again, pray in every situation, and I'm not saying you need to stay in a bad, terrible situation that's unhealthy and hurting you, but pray about it and honor, and I would err on the side of honoring commitments in jobs, with people, in business, relationships. Like, commitment is just not very much of a thing anymore, right? In 2026, maybe I sound like an old person complaining, but I just think God honors those who honor their commitments, who honor the people, the relationships that puts in their life. God will stay faithful. Like I said, it's better to seek God first. Joshua got him into war, but even if you don't seek God, or if you hear him wrong. I remember that being a big fear of mine growing up. Like, yeah, but what if I hear God wrong? That's okay. Do your best and God will work it out. Even if he has to stop the sun, even if he has to perform a miracle, God will work it out. Talked about the story of Peter walking on water and he falls and Jesus catches him. All sorts of stories throughout the Bible of people messing up and God saving them anyway. So why are we so afraid to do the things that we feel like we're called to do? Seek God, but even in whatever situation you're in, good or bad, even if it's your own fault because you didn't seek God or you did something stupid, God will be faithful to you. God will save you because that's the God that we serve. Call out to him. He will save you. Wherever you find yourself right now, in whatever mess you're in, whatever situation, even if it's your own fault and you disobeyed God, call out to him. He wants to save you and he wants to get you out of this mess.